Angry Bears Fan Podcast, episode 100. I know we talked about maybe doing something special for this one, and I was trying to figure something out, but we got some big news yesterday, so I figured that would be more than enough to fill in our 100th episode. Before we get into it, like, follow, subscribe. Thank you for everybody. That 100 episodes over 2 years, something we always wanted to do. We're almost at 10K subscribers. Um, so yeah, Ben Johnson, the Chicago Bears' new head coach. What most of the fan base was asking for, what we've been discussing, I felt like Poles had to get done if he wanted to keep his job, and he made it happen.
Yeah, I mean, episode 100, big milestone. Thanks to everybody who stuck with us through, these last couple of years. Friends that, we've known for a long time, family. Just found out recently that a lot of my family watches this podcast. So thank you guys
Yeah, we
for the
appreciate it for
support.
sure.
Um, Episode 100, big news. Ben Johnson, Bears go top shelf. Um, I know I texted you the morning of the news because I was starting to lean Todd Monken's way just because of some things that I had heard and read and stuff like that about Todd Monken as a coach. But I'm perfectly happy with Ben Johnson. You know that he's been for majority 99% of this time coaching search. Ben Johnson's been my number one guy. Um, but this I think this kind of more so it speaks to the change that the Bears are doing as an organization, right? Because this isn't a Bears move. This isn't a George McCaskey move. Um, when the news broke about Ryan Poles calling up, Pittsburgh to see if he can get permission to talk to Mike Tomlin about a trade, knowing what Mike Tomlin makes within that, 14, 15, $16 million a year range, you knew that he was serious about paying a coach. No more are we shopping in the bargain bin for head coaches when it comes to the Matt Eberfluses of the world, the retread coaches of John Fox, paying them, bottom dollar essentially to become the head coach of the Bears. They took a big swing. They're paying this guy, and this, like I said, this is something new for the organization. They went after the number one guy in the coaching cycle the last 2 years. We don't get the number one guy ever. We got the number one guy. A lot of credit has to go out to George McCaskey as well as Ryan Poles and Kevin Warren for making this happen. I know we egg on them and we harp on them a lot, but Kevin Warren said that he wanted to treat this like a world class organization, and this is the first step in treating this as a world class organization. I think this kind of goes to show agents and agents of these free agents coming up that okay, hey, maybe the Bears mean business. They're willing to pay top dollar. They're willing to spend. Um, and maybe that can attract some marquee free agents going forward, and things of that nature. So this is a step in the right direction for Chicago as an organization, starting with the top. George, Kevin, and Ryan, um, Ben Johnson. I mean, I sent you the clips earlier about him walking into Hallis Hall and talking to just the Bears organization, the people that work at Hallis Hall. It wasn't even the players or anything else like that. It was the people that work at Hallis Hall. He seems very energetic, and I think this also goes to show too that not only did the Bears choose, Ben Johnson, but Ben Johnson chose the Bears. He wanted the Bears job last year, and he went back to Detroit because this job wasn't available. That was the
I
rumor
agree with you there.
circulating.
Yeah.
And now, you know what I'm saying? He had an opportunity to go anywhere of the, you
Oh
know what I'm
no,
saying?
yeah. The I feel like I know we harp on the Bears a lot, but I feel like in the coaching search, taking I guess ownership out of it, the Bears seemed like the best job. I like we said last week, the Raiders just didn't make sense. Like I don't think a young up and coming coach is going to go to the Raiders, who was like you said the number one candidate, could go anywhere he wants, because they just have no. They're a bad team. They have no quarterback. They have no prospect of getting a quarterback unless they suck again next year, which wouldn't bode well for Ben Johnson. So again, I'm glad, like you said, changing in the guard, we got our guy who we wanted, and more so what to build on what you said, he wanted to be here. There was no second interview needed. They were eliminated. Then 2 days later, he was our coach. So we talked about this before. They must have discussed this behind closed doors, and that's what
They
I
had to have.
said.
They had
What
to
I
have.
said to him is like, I thought that either they were going to hire McCarthy or Ben Johnson. We thought Ben Johnson, obviously, we'll talk about the game as well. We thought Ben Johnson would be going a little longer. In my head, I either thought we were getting Mark McCarthy or they had a under the table handshake agreement that Ben Johnson, obviously, he couldn't before they got eliminated, but that he wanted the job and that he was going to take it. Um,
Who
and
knows? Yeah,
then,
maybe this whole 20 coaches thing was like a ruse as an excuse to draw on the coaching
or
search
like you
as
said,
long as
you
they had to.
that they wanted to show that we were taking this seriously. I know it seemed goofy, but maybe to them, they're like, we want the fans to know that we interviewed everybody and that we were going to get the best candidate. I thought it was stupid because I think that's not how it goes. But maybe that's what they were doing, or maybe like you said, maybe they were putting a little bit of pressure on Ben Johnson to say, we really want you, but remember, like we're not going to be standing here. I don't
Well,
know.
from all reports out there, Mike McCarthy was the backup plan.
Yeah,
If they weren't
I
getting
figured.
Ben Johnson, it was Mike McCarthy.
Yeah,
And I know, there's reports out there. One of the biggest things you had about hiring Ben Johnson as a head coach was going to be his coaching staff. And I told you, you and I kind of disagreed on this a little bit. We kind of saw it differently. You didn't know if he was going to be able to bring in any high-end coordinators. I said there was going to be a lot of guys that would want to work with a hot head coaching, candidate with him because they see it as a second opportunity possibly. If that one coach succeeds, they can kind of sort of ride their coattails. And Dennis Allen being the lead candidate for defensive coordinator for Ben Johnson is a huge name. That's a huge get. That's another. He's not going to come cheap. Same thing with Darren Rizzi, who is the special teams coordinator that they're going after as well.
yeah.
These are big names in the coaching world.
His offensive line
This,
coach as well is supposed to be coming with them. They're
yeah.
saying.
So this is a big. They're not sparing any money in terms of
Coaching isn't going
uh,
to be excused.
any expense, anything like that. So Dennis Allen's a really big get. He's the lead candidate. Nothing's been announced or official yet. Same thing with Rizzi as the special teams coordinator. No word yet on the offensive coordinator. We all know Ben Johnson's going to be calling the plays, but you still need a
I've
face
been
to run the
seeing his
offense.
offensive line coach
Possibly.
because in theory he'll just still be the offensive line coach, but OC in name. Like you said, Ben Johnson's obviously going to call the plays, and I mean I'm excited for it. I'm not on the train that we have to have a hot young upcoming coach. He was the best candidate this year outside of Vrabel, in my opinion, just based on what they've been doing, what they have done. Uh, but I want to see it put to action. If Dennis Allen's the guy, I think that's a perfect fit to what I want. If we were going to get Ben Johnson, what I wanted, because in this league, to be a good play caller and run a great offense, you got to be focused on that. Like
Hmm.
I just don't imagine Sean McVay's twiddling with the defense that much, or Kyle Shanahan. I mean, that you saw that 49ers, they offered Salah a huge deal because they want him back because I think Kyle Shanahan doesn't want to have to think about that. So we're coming more with the times, and I'm hopeful for Ben Johnson. I was skeptical that the Bears were going to do this though, because when the reports that the Brady and the Raiders came out, we knew that the Raiders were going to spare no expense. So if
Yes.
he wanted to go to the Raiders, or they wooed it, or he wasn't locked in on the Bears, the Raiders would have got him. I think just because they got Brady, they got endless pockets, and they're shameless. They'll spend whatever they have to spend. But this is good for Caleb and the offense. Got
Well, now,
Poles off the
yeah.
hot seat.
No, I don't
Uh,
know about that. Now the pressure is all on Ryan Poles. I think Ryan Poles needs to put together a roster to win. You don't make this move. You don't go out and get a Ben Johnson and give Ryan Poles an opportunity to say, okay, this is another small little rebuild. You got 3 years to make this work. I don't think
no,
it's
I
going
know,
to
I
go.
understand that. I think we'll be competent, but I just don't think they're going to fire him next year.
If they don't win, I'm not saying they have to go to the playoffs.
I think
I'm
so
not
too.
saying they have to make a deep playoff run or anything. If you don't win 8, 9, 10 games next year, Ryan Poles is fired.
Yeah, but what if it's not a roster issue? Like, I don't,
What else would it be?
I don't know. I guess you're right. And to get on that, I'm just after watching the playoffs. Again, this has been a hot topic. Almost, I've talked about this almost as much as I talked about Justin Fields. We passed on Jared Verse and these guys. They're just so damn good. And it's polls as you see Jalen Carter now. He looking like a Hall of Famer. I mean, obviously, we needed Darnell Wright, and he's not bad, but Poles was worried we didn't have the leadership and we weren't ready, and we passed on a Hall of Famer. So, I mean, barring a major injury, like Jalen Carter is a him. He's a top five defensive lineman, and he's just dominating. We passed on him. We passed on Burst. A lot of questionable moves, but this one will get him back in line, and hopefully Ben Johnson will be able to do more with less because Sewell's not walking through that door. Taylor Decker, Ragnow, none of those guys are walking through the door. Like best case scenario, we get injury prone, way out of his prime, Zach Martin. Or like I don't imagine KC lets. I know Trey Smith is an upcoming free agent. KC's a
They
good
can't
organization.
pay him. They can't
They
pay
will.
him. There's
They will.
there is no money.
Yeah.
If he becomes available,
Well, they'll move
um,
money around. That's what I'm saying. Like,
well,
so
here's the thing. If he becomes available, if he hits the free agent market, if
we
he's
have to
not
get
the
him.
first signing that Ryan Poles makes, this offseason's already a failure.
Yeah, I agree. I agree with you. I don't think he's getting there. Kansas City is a well-run organization. They don't let guys like that walk out the door.
That's not true. They let their franchise left tackle walk out. Here's
Well, he
the thing
wasn't
with
good.
Kansas City.
He
He
wasn't
was
playing well.
okay. He was still okay. Here's the thing with Kansas City. It doesn't matter who they plug in Kansas City.
I don't
They
know.
still have Patrick Mahomes back there.
Well, that's true, but in theory, like
Sure, in
if
theory,
Caleb's
I
not
get
that guy, then what are
I
we
get what
doing?
you're saying. I get what you're saying. But Trey Smith is one hell of an offensive lineman.
No, I agree. I
Kansas,
want him. He
Kansas
would be
City,
number one. I just
Kansas
don't
City
think.
does.
I
I
know
don't
he's
think
on the list.
Kansas City needs Trey
No,
Smith
I wouldn't
as
say that.
much
No,
as
no. I
you know
just
what I'm
don't think he's
saying.
going to be going. I don't think they need him to do what they've been doing, but they're not letting him leave. I would be shocked if Trey Smith was a free agent. Just because they don't pay a lot of other skill positions now. They let lineman Swede or not lineman or Sneed walk out the door. They really don't. They're not. I mean, Kelsey and Mahomes are getting paid a decent amount. And Chris Jones, but I mean, they win again. One or two of them might retire. So I don't know. I just don't see trades. I see maybe think the Cowboys are gonna. They have to let Zach Martin leave.
I think Zach Martin's going to retire. He talks about
Yeah,
retirement.
yeah. Either who. That's what I'm saying. Like best case, he's a free. The Cowboys. I don't know what they're gonna do. They got no money, and they and the new coach is gonna be interesting. And they got to sign Micah. So we will see. Hopefully, I'm of the mind, and I know this is not so much of a topic as much as like I think Miles Garrett's gonna. I think somebody or Miles Garrett or somebody comparable to him, and I think that should be a big. I don't know if I would go so. If it was Miles Garrett, I'd say trade pick 10. I honestly would. I don't. I think we've had good success. Those are one of those few moves we do make when we trade draft capital for high caliber DNs. They always seem to pan out for us. Um, but I'm hoping for some kind of splash like that. I don't think the offensive lineman's going to be there. I don't think Will Campbell or even Banks is going to be a huge upgrade to anybody we had this year. Maybe like they might be okay at guard. I don't think either one of them's a plug in and play left tackle who's going to be better than Braxton Jones is. Maybe in a couple years, but definitely not next year. So we're definitely going to see Ben Johnson's chops if it was the high caliber line or is it his scheme because. Like I said at the beginning, Sewell's not walking through the door. Taylor Decker's not walking through the door. We're not
No,
getting those
though
guys.
we'll still have probably two or three new offensive linemen
Yeah,
starting next.
I think they'll be similar caliber of the guys we had, maybe a little bit better. Just gonna have to
And
coach them
well,
up.
see, that's the thing too, is that I know I had talked about this with different coaches and everything else like that, bringing in a new coach. Keenan Allen's not coming back. There's reports that Ben Johnson wants to upgrade the speed of this team, and that's in all aspects. Dennis Allen runs a 4-3 base, but you're really not in base all that much. You're running a lot of nickel packages and stuff out there, but they don't want the heavy run stuffers. You know what I'm saying? They want quick, agile defensive linemen. Ben Johnson wants, fast. He just wants to upgrade speed. So it'll be interesting to see what comes of it in terms of building this roster. Now Ryan Poles and Ben Johnson have to work together in the offseason during free agency, the draft, and kind of figure out how they're going to piece this team together because Ben Johnson can scheme all he wants. He can probably out scheme, the best of them out there. But if Caleb is still running for his life back there, then it's all for naught. But he's also got a coach that shit out of Caleb Williams trying to play hero ball too. He's got to coach Caleb into playing within structure. He's got to get him to throw the ball on time, get rid of the ball, because I know we had talked about it a lot too this year.
He
Not
never
all
throws
of
the
them,
ball away.
not
Like
all of them, but a lot of those sacks are on Caleb for just
I
not
would
throwing
just
the
say
ball away.
50-50. I would just like
Yeah,
O line wasn't good. I think Bears fans have tunnel vision. We talked about this a lot with our O line where we have PTSD for the last 20 years, decade, and we watch all those games beginning to the end. We watch all the highlights, but it's like a lot of teams have bad O lines, and Caleb's got to help them. They're bad. He knows that, so they have to work in tandem, and that's coaching Caleb, everybody to get rid of the ball. Like Joe Burrow, he's elite. He has bad O line every year, gets sacked a bunch of times every year. Like you have to got to work with what you got. And yes, hopefully Ben Johnson can coach him out of that. As we saw, but my concern was the defense. We saw them take a big step back after Eberflus was fired. Obviously, his clock management was horrible, but he did a good job with the defense, and it was miserable after he left. Even though there was a few games where they got some, we didn't get any more turnovers. Like we were at the beginning of the year we had a bunch, and then the tail end we weren't getting any fumbles, any interceptions, anything. And that was my concern. And I think Dennis Allen is a great get because, like we just saw, Ben Johnson dropped 30 points and they still lost. So if it's not both sides, it's not going to work. And that again was my concern with the moves Foles has made. Like I don't know, we just passed too many good defensive guys, and let's say Ben Johnson comes in, we're a top 10 offense, we got a decent O line. It's like if the defense isn't there, we're gonna have the same problem he just had. So, and hopefully Dennis Allen can install, and even Ben Johnson, to me, just seems like a nice guy. And maybe he could be a nice guy and get structure in. But I think the Bears need some structure. We need some toughness. I don't think it was all a lack of talent on the O line. I think those guys weren't tough enough. They weren't gritty enough. Kevin Jenkins is getting hurt. We got Nate Davis who just doesn't want to play for personal reasons, like or whatever the fuck's going on. It's just
yeah. I wish I
we
could get
need
that.
to
I could have done more for the Bears for $10 million
yeah, like
than Nate Davis did.
exactly.
Like
Like it just
that's
we
crazy.
that needs to be fixed. Like that is where I guess you're right. Poles is in the hot seat. There's a lot of fuck shit he's done, and he is he's made some really big splashes that make it look like he's doing a great job. Um, but there's a lot left to be desired. When we're looking back with hindsight, and I know in the moment it's hard to tell, but I mean that's what you get graded on. And he's had some big swings, but he's had a lot of misses as well. But luckily for him, this Ben Johnson one was what the fans wanted. Um, and I don't like I said, I don't know if that's what he wanted, but I know that is what the fan base wanted. That's what the honestly the whole world wanted for Caleb Williams and the Bears. If you know what I mean, looking out for their best intentions was Ben Johnson and Caleb Williams. And like I said, no more excuses now. Caleb's got his coach. We'll probably get another wide receiver for him. Obviously, we'll get multiple offensive linemen, and he won't be a rookie anymore. So there's no more excuses. Ben Johnson, I don't know. I guess do you get a grace year? I don't know. And that was one of my concerns as well because we want to get back to it. Like
Yeah.
I don't want to be here like you said, rebuild, rookie coach. I don't want to be hearing any of that shit. And that's what frustrated me this season because yes, I understand Caleb's a rookie, but it's like I knew like it. I don't like that precursor being put on the season where like I can't expect anything, and then so I'm expecting 9, 10 wins. I mean, we do this every year. We have a tough schedule, but I mean that's what I expect. We're a decent team with uh, supposedly generational quarterback, offensive guru, and borderline Hall of Fame defensive coordinator. So I want to see the results of that. Like I want to see some fruits bear from all that. Or yeah, you're right. Maybe Poles is out of the fucking door.
Well, as of right now, as of the recording of this episode, we are 50 days away from the new league year. So March 12th, 2025 will be officially begin the new league year. Which means, free agent signings and stuff like that. That's when free agency period will open up. So 50 days away, we're gonna find out how serious the Bears are in terms of winning. Draft comes up in April. Free agency, like I said, March 12th. Well, we'll see right away just how serious Ryan Poles is about winning. We'll see the influence that Ben Johnson has on this roster as well as this team. I think the offense is definitely excited. I think those guys in the locker room are pretty pumped about what's coming up. And I hope the defense feels the same way about Dennis Allen. If Dennis Allen is the choice as defensive coordinator, I'm sure they will be. Like we've been talking about it. These guys are pros, but when you hear the name Ben Johnson, especially on offense, you're giddy, you're excited, you're happy. And then on defense, when you hear the name Dennis Allen, you're kind of okay. I look at Dennis Allen as like a Steve Spagnuolo type. Obviously, Spagnuolo is already a Hall of Fame defensive coordinator. He's amazing at what he does, but he
Yeah,
was a previous head coach that didn't work out as a head coach, came to be a defensive coordinator and just absolutely tore, the roof off the place. And we're hoping that Dennis Allen does the same thing here in Chicago. Failed head coach, he was a great defensive coordinator. Failed head coach, gets his second opportunity as a defensive coordinator to prove himself, and he's going to be trying to do that job so he can get another head coaching, opportunity somewhere else. So all the motivation is there for everybody, and the paychecks are going to be nice. Now, we were talking about Ryan Poles and the roster building stuff like that. Hopefully, like I said, we can start working on this offensive line. I'm not adverse to trading back in the first round at pick 10 because you have so many holes on this roster, and like you said, there's not really anybody who's going to be a plug and play step in starter on the offensive line. Um,
maybe a guard, but like I just don't think it'll be like
Yeah, and I
head
don't
and
think there's a
shoulders
guard.
better than
I
anybody we
don't think
got.
there's a guard worth taking at 10 either.
Well, I was saying like
Between
Will, dude from LSU, put
Oh,
him at
Will
guard.
Campbell, yeah,
Maybe in a year he can move to
but you
tackle.
don't pick a guard at 10. You know what I'm
Yeah,
saying? He's still probably going to be there at 17 or whatever.
yeah. That's what
But
I'm of that mindset too. Unless the kid from like Penn State falls, which I don't think will happen. But there's a few good guys. My I want, even though I know I've been harping on the line, but I'm a big Michigan fan. But I want like Mason Graham. He falls to 10. That would be a fucking great pick for the Bears. Or the kid from Penn State. I don't think
Caleb
there.
Carter.
Yeah, I don't think there's any offensive players there, like you said, that are worth picking at a 10. Well, there none that'll beat no offensive lineman. I'm sure there's one of these wide receivers fall, but I really want Mason Graham and or the Carter from Penn State, but we've got time for the mock drafts.
Oh yeah, definitely.
I've already seen some of them, but it's going to be exciting. It's going to be interesting. I was just looking too. There's another pretty good offensive lineman who's coming who might be a free agent. Rodney Staley and Trey Smith, Zach Martin are the top. Zach Martin might retire. I I know I said I don't think Trey Smith is gonna get uh touch the free agent market, but I definitely don't think both of them will be there. If one maybe one of the two, Staley or Trey Smith, might make it, um, but they, like you said, it's going to be a failure. We can't. You've already missed your boat to do it in the draft. You should have been getting tackles in the second round. Or, I mean, like I said, Braxton Jones kind of panned out. I mean, he's just like a lower tier starting left tackle. Probably could play guard if we needed him to, but he missed his beat to get a guy. So it's like now we have to get a lineman in free agency. There's no elite guy, and yeah, but I think it's more of a coaching thing and a culture thing, and maybe the new offensive line coach coming over, Ben Johnson and his scheme, and maybe just some energy. I know you're talking about the defense being energized with Dennis Allen, but knowing that the offense is going to move the ball, like I know it had to be disheartening for the Bears defense to a lot of games play very well, and the offense just kept digging them in the hole, three and out, three and out, three and out. I mean, it's disheartening to just go back out there and having to get stop after stop after stop with no scores on the horizon.
Yeah,
Oh,
you got to play complementary football.
yes.
And that'll be a big thing going into next year. Like you just touched on it. I'm excited. I mean, this is like I said, it's a breath of fresh air. Just because we haven't really seen this organization do something like this in our
With
lifetime,
the
where
coach, yeah.
where they're going top shelf for a guy, they're willing to spend the money, and they're making it known that they mean business.
And they kept
Um,
their word too. They always talk a lot of shit and they
yeah,
never
they
back
give us a
up.
lot of lip service. They do.
But this year
Um,
they said a lot of
they
things
stuck
and they
true.
did it. Yeah. They got Caleb again, which if I with me agreeing on it or not, they made it clear that that was the move that they were going to make. Same with Ben Johnson. They said that they were going to take the search seriously. They were going to get a prime candidate, and they did. And I don't think any of the Bears fans will have anything to complain about till the draft, till it comes up. Like I said, maybe you'll be unhappy if we don't get a certain free agent, but I think this offseason they've already started on, or well, it hasn't offseason yet, but they've already started off good. And I think he'll continue. I think he knows he made mistakes the last couple of free agencies, missing out on linemen. I mean, who knows if Saquon want to come here? Anything. I think he was being cheap, and trying to get bang for his buck. And yeah, that looks good on paper when you're trying to play money ball, but um, that's not how you win. Like good teams pay people. Sometimes you overpay people. Like that's just how it goes. Like that's
And
what you
when they
do.
do overpay, they don't overpay on people like Nate Davis.
Yes, you go and get somebody, you zero in on them, and you fucking give them the money. We've been harping on this for 2 years now, 100 episodes. We're the fucking Chicago Bears. Like we're a top five sports franchise. Like, well, not even say the NFL. Like in the United States, there's very few teams who got a bigger name with the Lakers, the Yankees, the Cowboys,
Cowboys.
and besides, I mean, and there's Dodgers. There's some people get thrown in there, but anybody after that, really, the Bear, you can make an argument for them there. And so I never understood why we were so cheap. We having an NFL team with a stadium you don't fucking pay for means we have unlimited money. So I never got that, and hopefully we finally shook that. Stop being so worried about the salary cap or any of this shit. And I think they owe the Bears fans this. I think that's why Ben Johnson was the guy the whole way. I'm sure it helped that it seems like Ben Johnson wanted to come. I was really shocked there was no second interview. And we did that question, and I thought, like, you were like, what percentage? I thought it meant, like, if he didn't come in, we weren't getting him. But, like, it was crazy that, like, they got eliminated, and, like, as soon the next day, they're like, Ben Johnson really wants the Bears job. You know what I mean? Not really talking about the Raiders. And then another day, they're like, Ben Johnson's the coach. No second interview, no nothing. And we fucking talk shit about the Zoom interviews, and they got it done, I guess, on the Zoom interview or their agents
Yeah.
or whoever. But I'm glad Ben Johnson excited. I'm glad we didn't have to. I mean, I'm sure he's getting paid handsomely, but we didn't have to lure him here that way. It was somewhere he wanted to be. He wanted to work with Caleb. Where and there's multiple layers to how good this is. We just took him away from the Lions. We also now have an inside agent. What are they going to change their whole fucking scheme? Like now we know what they do best, what they're not good at. Like Ben Johnson was in that building for 2, 3 years, learning. He knows what they do good. And so that's going to be a big bonus, um, to help us take back the NFC North, like Foles
100.
promised.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, that's pretty much it. The news of the
Yeah.
week. Ben Johnson.
Ben Johnson. I mean, obviously the Lions lost. Redskins 10-point favorite. Um, Jaden Daniels. I guess, and I won't dwell too much on it, but that's gonna be tough for Caleb. He's got. We talked about this. He was going to have those two things looming over him, and obviously Justin Fields thing. I don't think he'll have to worry about so much. We'll see where he lands in the offseason. But you were always going to be compared to the guy who got taken at number 2, who was a Heisman, who some people thought might be better than you. And I mean, obviously, like we said, coaching matters, yada yada. But he got plugged into a similar situation. I think is better. I think everybody thought it was better prior to the season, and he balled out. So I mean, the ball's in your court now, Caleb. You got the better coach. You got the better team, in my opinion. So, I mean, we'll give you like you got a mulligan this year. You're a rookie on the Bears with the shitty O line, but next year I want to hear it. I want to see you doing the stuff that Jaden Daniels is doing and leading the team that way. Because it was
Yeah, it's time to
impressive.
put up or shut up. I will say Jaden Daniels is as cool as the other side of the pillow, man. I don't care what the situation is in the game. He has absolutely no fear.
Yes,
His blood
amazing.
pressure is a constant. From the time of the opening whistle till the time the game ends, he's almost unflappable. It's pretty amazing to
He's
watch.
very impressive. It was
Yeah,
really impressive to see that.
to see his just demeanor on the field during certain situations. It's unlike a rookie quarterback to have, and that's something you can't coach. You
No,
can't
yeah,
coach. You either have it or you don't. And Jane Daniels definitely has it. So that like you said, that was extremely impressive. NFC title game. Washington, Philly, AFC title game. Kansas City, Buffalo. Who you got?
That was a great game too. Buffalo, Baltimore. Lamar Jackson chokes once again.
It wasn't even Lamar, man. If I'm
No,
being
no.
honest, I don't blame
I mean,
Lamar.
I
I
do.
don't.
He fumbled and threw an interception. Like obviously
That
that last
he took
drive.
his team 96 yards down the field, scored a touchdown, and then Mark Andrews dropped the
Yeah, but like
tying two-point
I don't know.
conversion.
In
And
theory,
and Mark Andrews fumbled,
yeah,
and he
I'm
had
not
another
saying.
drop earlier in the
Yeah,
game.
but
I don't blame Lamar. In terms of the blame ladder, Lamar's down here. Everybody else is up
I'm not,
here.
well, no, I definitely would say that because Lamar, he gets when there's a praise ladder, he's all the way at the top. No matter if he
Not
throws
me.
for
I really,
well, I'm just not saying
you
you
know
in
me.
general. I'm just saying
I
like
have not.
quarterback on the praise ladder, quarterback gets the praise. I mean, even if the defense plays a good game and you don't play like shit. Um, but I think he put his team in the situation where they were down two scores and had to fucking drive down the field to win. I mean, he fumbled the ball, and both of his turnovers were boneheaded in playoff games against. I don't know. Yeah, I guess there's blame to go around, but I would have put like he didn't play well. He didn't play like the MVP he'd been playing like all
No,
year.
he did not play like MVP Lamar.
Um,
But
but
that
yeah,
was a really good game. And
terrible. Yeah, terrible. Yeah, great game. It was a terrible drop on Mark Andrews. Like,
can
no,
so
I could
so
not
who you got?
imagine having to go to sleep. I'm gonna go
Who you got?
Kansas City. I think I'll be rooting for the Bills, but I think Mahomes is him. I think they're gonna get it done, and he's gonna be the first three-peat. Um, I don't know. You people say it's the refs, whatever you want to call it, but there's an
So
old
who
saying:
does
"You'd rather
so
be
who does
lucky than good."
so who does Kansas City beat in the Super Bowl then from the
I
NFC
think
side?
it'll be the Eagles, but I think Jaden Daniels will put on a good game. But I think the Eagles they run the ball too well. With Saquon, they're tough to beat. That was
My
um
preseason pick was Bills and Lions. Um,
forgot who I picked.
obviously,
I think I
obviously,
was
I
Ravens. I don't know,
obviously the Lions are out. So I'm
but
gonna
the
stick.
Lions could be fun. Like the Lions literally had historic amount of injuries. The first
Yeah,
play of the game, they're starting with one of their starting
they,
corners broke his arm or whatever.
yep. At
So
that when that happened, I literally was watching the game, and when that happened, I was just like, "That's it. It's
they
the
cannot
run's
catch a
over."
break.
I
Like
was like, they can't.
it's
They
tough.
you can't overcome all of those
And
injuries.
like I
You just
said, that happened. They just lost their coach. Both of their coordinators
yeah,
are
they'll have a
out of
down
there.
year. They'll have a
Yeah,
down year next year.
it's gonna be tough. So
It'll be
we'll
like
see.
Philly. It'll be when Nick Sirianni and Philadelphia lost both of their coordinators. They had a down year last year. Then all of a sudden here we are, and they're back in the NFC title game. It just really depends on who they get as their coordinators to replace these guys because those are big losses. I like Philly. I want the Saquon story to keep happening. I do think Jaden Daniels puts on a show. I think it'll be a closer game than a lot of people think. I think Philly pulls it out just riding Saquon. Literally, they're
Yes.
going to run
Yeah.
Saquon into the ground. But I'm still sticking with. I have to go with my preseason Super Bowl pick
I
was
mean,
the
it's not a
Lions.
bad pick. I don't like the Bills look better right now.
So I have to stick with the Bills. I love Josh Allen. I love the way he plays. He's been taking care of the football this season. I want to see Josh Allen finally get over the hump so he can, start being put into these conversations with Patrick Mahomes because I really think that
I think that
the,
would be
the I
great for the
think that
league.
Allen Mahomes is going to be the Peyton Brady.
Yeah.
You know what I'm
I
saying?
agree
Matchup.
with you there. I would like to, I said I'll be rooting for the Bills. But I think it would be great for the league for Josh Allen to win because then I mean, he's been knocking on the door. He's elite talent. He's a
But
gamer.
I mean, let's talk about this for just 1 second. Literally, just spend like 1 minute on this. The AFC with Mahomes, Allen, Burrow, and Lamar. That's insane because Joe Burrow is amazing. Like for all the shit that since he was close to making the playoffs again, you know what I'm saying? They started off slow. A lot of people were down on the Bengals and stuff like that. Joe Burrow had a historic season on his own right. And we all this talk about Lamar and Patrick Mahomes is who Patrick Mahomes is. Josh Allen, obviously, like the AFC quarterback, and Bo Nix looks good. Drake May looks good. Like the AFC quarterbacks are
And they're
absolutely
about to get
stacked.
Shadur and Cam Ward. Or
Yeah,
no, one
like
of them's
they're
going to the Giants.
stacked.
It's very I agree with you. it's interesting because I mean we had Brady and Peyton, and right now in my head I think they're 1 and 2. Um, I don't think any of them besides Mahomes obviously has a chance. I think Mahomes right now is maybe over Peyton for sure if he wins this year. But you're right, like they might not be top five because they won't be able to get as many rings, but Lamar, Joe Burrow, and Josh Allen, I think it's safe to say they'll be, when it's all said and done, barring major injuries, will be top 10 historic quarterbacks. So to have four of the top 10 all playing against each other in their primes for a
That's
decade,
insane. It's
which is that's
nuts.
nuts. It is because you're watching. It's like next year. It's like Burrow didn't even make the playoffs, which is crazy because he's like arguably better than Lamar and Josh Allen. We'll see though. I would like to see Josh Allen win. I think he doesn't get enough credit. I think he's definitely been in Mahomes' shadow. I like the Bills a lot though, and Bills Mafia, like the Bears, could use one.
Yes.
But all right, episode 100. We got more in store for you moving forward. We're gonna have maybe some ex NFL players, some ex college players, whoever we get, come talk with us. But keep doing what you're doing. Like, follow, subscribe. Help us get to 10K. And we'll see you guys next week.
See you next
Adios,
week.
muchachos. Talk to you soon.